So when did you come home, George?
It was either August or September, 45. When they went by a point system, if you had enough points accumulated, they would ship you to an embarkation point, and you'd get on ships. But all this, a lot of it was done in Marseille, France, and that's where I ended up. And I ended up in the medical tent because I was a medic, and there's always, hey, these were men, happy men, because the war was over and they were going to go home. But there's fights also, you know. So we ended up sewing up a few scalps from beer bottle fights, you know, and things like that. But nobody was hurt permanently or anything like that, just a barroom brawl.
So, but there still were need for your services.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, and I had to do service on the ship going back too, because as I remember, they said, well, we are running into the tail end of a heck of a storm, and it was going to get rough. Well, everybody got sick, and guess who had to get a detail up and go clean up the mess? But everybody was sick. And we finally got it cleaned up, and it took, we got home in 2.5 days. Yeah, oh, we were quick. We were quick going home. Well, you didn't have to worry about subs, see?
Yeah.
So the fighting was over, and gambling, oh, they had so much fun gambling. One fellow he cleaned everybody out. I don't know, he must have been a card shark, because he had some money when he got out.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, when you got home, what did you do? What kind of job did you get? You said you had
First I kissed my wife.
Well, yeah.
What kind of job? Well, being a 17-year-old when I joined, and I was, 21 when I came out or something like that, and I had no experience at anything. I hadn't even graduated from high school. And I just got odd jobs, and finally I found a company that was just starting up making fishing rods, and I stayed with them for quite a few years. And finally they moved to Florida, and so we separated. And I finally ended up, one of my neighbors on the east side, I was on the west side at that time. Anyway, he was a foreman at Excello Corporation, and he said he got me an interview, and I got in there, and I went through and got my card for tool and die maker.
Ah.
Actually, it was machine builder, but from then on it was, then it got good, and it started getting better, because we had a lot of work.
Yeah. Did you mentioned on the way over when I picked you up that you lived in Oregon for a time.
Yeah.
What did you do out there?
Well, my wife wanted to go out there because her parents had moved from Kansas to Oregon. Why we don't know, but they didn't stay there that long. But while they were there, and I had no real job. So I got enough money together, and we got in an old car and a trailer and took off. And in Oregon, when I got there, the neighbor of my father-in-law owned a grocery store, Pick and Pack or something like that, and they put me behind the meat counter. I guess they figured I was used to the blood or stuff, and So we didn't stay there too long either. In fact, this fishing rod company that I had left, I kept in touch with them, and they finally said, "Come on home, and I'll send you a ticket and one for your wife and kid too." So that was worth coming home for.
That was good.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's always nice when somebody pays for your move, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah. Oh, I just wish I knew at the time what I was doing, because we went through Yellowstone Park, and to me it didn't mean a cockeyed thing.
Wow.
It just get to Oregon, get it done. Still more or less a teenager, hadn't got all my wild oats sowed, I guess. And so we went there, and I stayed there for, we couldn't have been there more than 6 months.
Really?
At the most. We came back home.
Do I get to ask a couple questions?
Please do.
Oh, come on over here. Hi, George.
Well, no, that's all right.
Does this work out over here? I don't think I'm in the camera.
No, I don't think so.
So, how long were you actually in Europe? A couple of years?
Pretty close to that, yeah. Yeah, we got there in the spring, and I can remember one Christmas there. In fact, the thing I remember about the Christmas there is I was wounded, and I was in a hospital in Paris, and this was at Christmas Eve. Yeah, they said, well, Glenn Miller and his band are coming over and going to entertain us. Glenn Miller never made it. He died, the plane was shot down or something, and he died in the channel, so that was canceled. That was the only, yeah, but like you say, it's under 2 years, yeah.
Now, where did you actually go? You started in England, then did you go to France, or where?
Yeah,
where?
England, France, Belgium, and we got to the edge of Germany. Well, I don't know how far the rest of the outfit got, but when I was wounded during the Battle of the Bulge, I was shipped to a hospital, and then depending on the injury, they kept shipping me back, and I ended up in England, where they treated me some more and said, "You're okay," and started me on what they call a replacement depot, for all the people that were ready to go back to the war or to their unit or whatever. They just kept shipping them a little further until they got to their own unit. Well, the war ended while I was in this replacement depot.
So were you a medic the whole time you were
Yes,
there?
I was, yeah. Never carried a gun, never fired a shot.
And,
Just carried a big target on my back.
right.
And on the helmet. They had all kinds of names for us in the States, but once we got over there, they appreciated the medic a little bit more. Yeah. But I didn't care. Call me what you want.
Did you get to know the people that you worked with? I mean, I'm sure you
Oh, yeah.
what kind of friends did you have listed?
Well, two of them were from Detroit area. One of them was a millwright at Ford Motor Company. I can remember that. And I saw his obituary in the paper one day. And another one, I don't know, he was like me. He just never had a job, and he was just too young. And he joined, and he was drafted. let's see, the other one, there was one fellow from Arkansas, yeah. Yeah, the one that stands out the most was a young guy, young kid, and Louis, that's all I remember. His name was Louis, and he was a good medic, but he wanted to fight everybody. He didn't care. He just ready to fight anybody. And one day he said something like, "Well, I got to get out of here. My wife's having a baby." My heck, he was younger than I was, and I thought, "Oh, this is crazy." But I said, "Louis, you can't do anything about it. You're over here." He said, "Well, I may be over here, but I may not be too, so very long." I said, "Well, don't do anything foolish, and if you do, tell me before you do it." But I never heard any more from him. I'm glad, because I'm sure he was very much in love with his wife to marry her. Both of them were 16 when they were married.
Wow.
West Virginia, I think they were from. But they're kind of famous for that out there, marrying young.
So life was a little different then.
Pardon me?
Life was different then.
Oh yeah, life was a lot different then. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
while you were actually in Europe,
Yeah. Yeah.
give us an idea of what it was like.
Oh, that's a tough one because there were so many GIs there, and when I didn't get to see a whole lot of anybody else except when I was in a hospital myself, but they were just too many people. I mean, all I could say is you kind of shied up to somebody and kind of buddied up to them, and that was it. Because I got to pass into Paris once, and I was alone, and I got to tell you something else a little bit. We just stayed together the whole time we were there, and when it was time to go, we just separated. That was the extent of you getting to know anybody, as far as I was concerned. One thing that happened to me that I never expected was that my parents were from Belgium. And my dad eventually died of from wounds from World War I. Yeah, but that was later. But while I was over there, I got a hold of an address of one of my uncles who was still there. He was in Antwerp, and I was a train ride away from him, a couple hours, something like that. And so I got to go to his house and meet the whole clan that was there.
Oh,
That was a really unusual thing. But one of the things about I didn't see a lot of it in Paris, in France, but in Belgium especially, when you got on or off of a train, the women were there to greet you with unbelievable pastries. Oh God, they were so good. I'd like to get time off just to go to the train station. It was wonderful.
Did you learn any French?
Pardon?
Did you learn any French? Could you speak French?
Oh, I could understand Belgian. I could understand it, but I couldn't speak it anymore. I just phase away, But French, I could make out what they're saying. Yeah.
did you get to know any of the actual people that were in France, or you were just always in your groups of military people?
No, I never really got to know any, what you're saying, civilians?
Right.
Yeah, no, I never did.
Did you only work with the United States, or was there other countries that were involved?
Oh, not in my area. No, I did see some British once in a while. You couldn't miss them because of their wool uniforms. Summer or winter, it was always this one uniform they had, and they looked so hot.
Oh, man, they smelled a little bit too, probably, didn't they?
Yeah, I'm sure they did. Some of the goats that they, anyway, those people eat a lot of lamb. And actually, I don't know, is a mutton, is that a baby lamb or an old lamb?
That's an old sheep. Mutton's old.
Okay, that's what they fed us in England. It was mutton. Oh, it smells so bad being cooked. And that's about it, unless you got some more questions.
Do you have a question here?
I think that's it.
Well, it's been,
But
hope
thank
it-
you very much for
well,
doing this for us.
it's been a pleasure doing it. I would have liked to told you more about the blood and guts things, but I can't hardly talk to about that to my wife even. It's so things you want to forget.
Then let's just talk, how did it affect you? How did it actually affect you?
How did it actually affect me?
Yeah.
And I don't think I understand what you're saying.
Well, I mean, did it stay with you the rest of your life?
It's still with me. Whenever I get with somebody that knows the whole thing, I start crying. I really do. And I'll bet you if I kept talking, I could feel it right now in my eyes that I would be crying if I mentioned some of the things that I saw.
I do have one last question. How did you make the transition? How did you cope with those feelings, the maybe flashbacks or memories of all that gruesome things? Did you talk to people about it, or did you just forget about it? And
I just tried to forget it.
tried to forget it.
And it was many years before I would talk to my children about it. They kept begging me. Well, they still ask. Now it's my grandchildren, and you feel more. I don't know. It's different with your grandchildren than it is with your own. They ask me, and I'll talk to them a little bit, but not. I just won't go in the whole way.
Yeah.
Just not worth it.
Right. Right.
It's something we probably don't need to do again, right?
Hey, got any more silly questions? No. I'll say one thing for it. For somebody my age at that time, that was the best thing that ever happened to me, was joining the Army. And another thing I'll mention is my oldest daughter was on the loose right after she graduated from high school. She couldn't, there were just no jobs available that she could hang on to. So she was up here at Boyne Falls at the ski resort, and she called us, Mom and Dad, and we came up, and we talked to things over, and she said, "What can I do?" I said, "Well, you don't want to come home, do you?" She said, "Oh no, that's the last thing I want to do." So I said, "Well, why don't you join the Army?" Well, she looked at me like, I don't know, God, I hate you. But she got up from the table and went in her bedroom and slammed the door and never came out that evening. But the next morning, she said, "Dad, will you go to the recruiting office with me?" And she served, she's retired from the Army now.
Wow.
Yeah,
So she made a full career of it.
She said, "Dad, that was the best thing that ever happened to me." And, well, it's a peacetime army, you know.
Right.
She was in Germany around where Hitler had his eagle's nest, you know. And she got to travel to just all over. She had a good time,
Yeah.
and she doesn't regret it. She made a lot of friends, but that was a little different than what it is now. Then you were going to be with that group, or now you can be shifted almost anywhere,
Right.
and it's just different. Yeah.
Well, thank you, George.
Well, you're quite welcome, I think.